Have you ever witnessed something wrong, deeply wrong, but said nothing? It was a late afternoon in a small Alabama town, the kind of town where everyone knows your name and gossip travels faster than the church bell on Sunday morning. The sky was overcast, not quite threatening rain, but dark enough to make the day feel heavier than it should. A boy, no older than 15, stood on the edge of the sidewalk watching as two uniformed officers wrestled a man to the ground. The man wasn't resisting. He wasn't even yelling. He was crying. And not the kind of tears that came from pain, but from humiliation. The boy turned to his father and whispered, "Why are they doing that to him?" His father placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. "Don't get involved. It's not our business." But the boy didn't forget. He never would. Now hold that image. That father's warning isn't unique. It echoes through time, across countries, generations. It's the same whisper passed down in silence, the kind that lets injustice grow roots in the soil of cowardice. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." He didn't say this to sound poetic. He said it because he saw what happened when good people stayed silent, when the small wrongs in other places became the giant monsters in your own backyard. You see, injustice isn't a local issue. It's not confined by borders, neighborhoods, or skin color. It travels like a virus, infecting the hearts of those who look away, those who say, "It doesn't concern me," but it always does. Sooner or later, the fire reaches your doorstep. That's why today I want to take you into the shadows where injustice hides, not in the halls of power, but in the everyday, behind polite smiles, closed doors, and silent eyes. Because if you've ever told yourself, "It's not that serious," then maybe, just maybe, you've let injustice slip past you. But it's not too late. Stay with me. Subscribe to this channel if you believe in truth. Follow this story, because we're about to uncover something that may shake what you thought was fair, what you thought was right. Let me take you back, farther than Alabama, farther than the 20th century. Let me take you to a marketplace outside an ancient temple. Dust, heat, the sound of coins clinking. A man stands still amid the chaos. His eyes are sharp, filled with a fire that frightens the merchants who pretend not to see him. But they know who he is. He walks slowly, deliberately toward the table of the money changers, those who made profit not from effort, but from exploiting faith. Then, without warning, he flips the tables. Coins scatter like rain. Birds in cages flutter in panic. He doesn't scream, but his voice booms across the courtyard. "My father's house shall be a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves." That man was Jesus. Yes, the same Jesus whose name many now associate with passivity, with kindness, with silence in the face of evil. But not that day, because injustice was sitting comfortably inside the temple, wearing robes, counting profits, pretending righteousness, and he could not stay silent. You see, injustice is never just about cruelty. It's about corruption in sacred places. It's about systems that reward silence and punish truth. It's about the moment you realize your comfort is built on someone else's suffering. You might think, that was a long time ago. Things are different now. But listen, every age has its temples. Temples made of marble or metal or policy, where injustice hides in contracts, in uniforms, in polished smiles. Do you remember that boy from Alabama? Years later, he became a lawyer. One day he took on a case, a black teenager wrongly accused, facing a life sentence for a crime with no evidence. Everyone told him to drop it, said it was too risky, too controversial, not your problem. He didn't listen. It took 5 years, 2 appeals, and a storm of public backlash. But he won. And when reporters asked why risk his career, his family, his name, he said, "Because one injustice can poison an entire system. Because if it can happen to him, it can happen to any of us." Now pause. Look around you. Think of the workplace where the loudest voice always wins. Think of the hospital where some patients wait longer, not because they're less sick, but because they're less rich. Think of the child afraid to speak up in class because his accent is different. Those are modern temples. Those are echoes of the money changers. And every time we look away, we hand the exploiters another coin, another cage, another reason to keep going. But there's something else I want to tell you. Something urgent. Yes, you have more power than you think. Not in your fists, not in your protests, but in your refusal. Be numb. Don't scroll past injustice. Don't laugh it off. Don't say that's just how the world works. Because the moment you do, you become part of it. So what do we do? Stay with me. Subscribe to this channel if you believe stories can wake the sleeping. Follow this journey, not just for truth, but for the courage to confront it. Because this isn't just a video, it's a mirror, and what you see in it might just change you. Fundai, the final silence is ours. Do you remember what silence sounds like when it isn't peaceful? It sounds like a courtroom with no defense, like a woman crying behind closed doors while her neighbors raise the TV volume. It sounds like the pause between two heartbeats just before someone turns away. Injustice, you see, doesn't always arrive with blood. Sometimes it shows up in a whisper, a shrug, an empty seat where someone should have stood. Let me tell you something strange. There was a village, small, nameless, somewhere in the folds of the ancient world. In that village, a law was passed. No foreigner shall enter after sunset. They said it was to protect tradition, to preserve values, to maintain order. One night, a traveler stumbled into the outskirts, exhausted, injured. He begged for help, food, water, rest. But the villagers looked at him and then at each other. No one moved. It wasn't hatred. It was fear. Fear of being the first to break the silence. So the man died, right there, at the edge of a place that once called itself moral. And here's the twist. A week later, that same village was raided by soldiers from a kingdom the traveler had once warned them about, a kingdom he tried to escape from. Do you see it? The injustice they allowed became the injustice that consumed them. Because injustice, unchecked, grows teeth. It learns, it adapts, and eventually it bites the hand that fed its silence. Now let me bring this home. You might think, I'm just one person, I don't hold power. But here's the truth. The greatest crimes of history weren't committed by monsters. They were permitted by bystanders. The Holocaust didn't begin with gas chambers. It began with silence at dinner tables. Apartheid didn't start with bullets. It started when people accepted the idea that one skin was worth more than another. And when the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, he wasn't giving a metaphor. He was giving a map, a warning, a compass for those who dared to care. So here's the moment. Right now, you are watching this not by accident, but because something in your soul is still awake, still alive enough to recognize the wrongs that hide in plain sight. Maybe it's in your job, maybe in your community, maybe in your own heart. But whatever it is, don't be the one who walks away. Don't be the priest who crosses the road to avoid the bleeding man. Don't be the friend who knows and says nothing, because your silence can become someone else's cage. And your voice, it might just be the key. So speak. Write. March. Vote. Defend. Interrupt. Disobey when obedience demands your soul. And above all, remember, justice is not a place, it's a practice. Every day you wake up, you're either building it or letting it crumble. Right now, you have a choice, not just to feel this, but to live it. If this video stirred something inside you, don't walk away. Subscribe, comment, share this message with someone who needs it, because we need each other. The world doesn't fall apart in a single moment. It falls when good people fall asleep. But together, if we stay awake, we can build something unshakable. Justice isn't waiting, it's watching. And it's asking, will you answer or will you disappear into silence?